Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Come in the Room with your host, Juzt Val. How y'all doing? This is our first episode for February, and we have a great guest on today. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. She is a proud mother of three. She has two beautiful grandchildren. She serves as her community as the president of York City Council, having passed instrumental legislation to enhance her community, as well as serving on the board of the Salvation Army. Edquina is the founder and CEO of Redeem Queen, where she uplifts women through wearable art and literature. She is the author of the From the Pole to the Pulpit. That's a title all in itself. Honey, we can't wait to talk to her. But without further ado, we're going to introduce Edquina Washington to our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Val. I'm so honored to be here.
Well, that's good. We're honored to have you on our podcast on today. We appreciate you taking your time out, coming on and sharing your story with us, spilling your own tea with us. Spilling your own tea. Ain't nothing like spilling your
Yes.
own tea at
Come
all.
on, tell me about it.
Ain't nothing like spilling your own tea. So we're going to dive right on into the first question because we really want to hear about you. We really want to hear about your story because I'm sure it will uplift somebody else. So my first question is, who is a Queen of Washington? Like, really, like, who are you without the titles and the roles? Who makes you a Queen of Washington or what?
Without any of the titles or roles, for me, I am just a woman who loves to uplift other women. I'm a writer, I'm a creative, I'm a person that can be an introvert and an extrovert at the same time. There's times that I like to be by myself and like to write. I was writing this morning. And then there's times where I like to be out and about and around people. You know, you mentioned I'm a mom, grandma, but without the titles, I'm just a Black woman that enjoys being a Black woman and that enjoys uplifting other women.
I know that's right. There's nothing wrong with that. To building other women, that's my thing too. I love building other, especially Black women. That's my thing.
Yes.
So we have
Yes.
something in common.
Yes.
And so, like, as you tell your story, like, what part of your story do you feel only you can tell? Only a queen can tell this story. So, what part of your story you feel like only you can tell?
For me, it would be the part of my story where, I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, also a survivor of domestic violence. And those are two things that I know for sure that those are only stories that I can tell for myself. That, maybe family members who knew or people who see me in a situation, maybe they can say something. But for me, those are stories that I can only tell for myself.
So, like, when you say those childhood traumas that you faced growing up, would you like to expound on those things or not? We're not going to be pushy, but if you want to
Expound upon
expound
them.
on those things, I would love to hear in my audience to hear those stories or snippets of them, if you would.
Sure. I grew up in a very tight knit family, and unfortunately, some of the men in my family have sexually abused me. It's been several, unfortunately, and it was from as early as I can remember. I was about 3 years old up until when I was in middle school, and it was not just one; it was several different family members, and that had a very traumatic impact in my life, and even till this day there are through counseling and, there's triggers and things like that that I still deal with because of that. Having walking through the healing process, I know people say, hey, I'm healed. I believe that we're constantly healing and we're constantly evolving because every day is a new day and some challenges or some things present themselves and it, brings things up. And we have to be honest with ourselves that, I've dealt with these traumatic situations. And because of that, this is just who I am. And I may be a certain way because of that. And that's okay. And so I'm dealing with that and having to understand and share that with other family members of what happened to me was hard. And they believed me when I told them, but then having to forgive them for those that did see the situation and didn't say anything or just I had to realize that at that, they're from a different generation and
Right.
they maybe didn't, some of them didn't know what to do or what to say, or it was like what happens in the house stays in the house. And
Right.
so, having to go through the process of forgiving them and forgiving those family members that knew about it, but also forgiving the abusers and understanding that I may forgive you, but I don't forget what you did. You don't have access to me, my home, my children. And then being honest with my children that these are not safe people for you to be around, because I believe sometimes in families, when this stuff happens, we allow those individuals back in, not realizing, if they're not healed or not walking a healing process, they're going to reoffend and they're going to victimize someone else. Or if they're not continuing victimizing
Right.
someone else, and they're going to continue to do those things. And so, being honest about that and speaking up about that in my family, but it has been a hard thing for me to walk through. But I continue to walk through it, continue to be open for healing, open for therapy. I know sometimes many of us as Black women or Black people in general, we don't want to go for therapy, but therapy
Right.
is very beneficial and very helpful.
Yes.
Um, and it's needed because, people say, well, I have God. Yes, we do have God and we do have our faith, but there's nothing wrong with going to someone to give you therapy and help to walk you through the process as well. There's nothing wrong with having God and having some therapy, okay?
Right. I know that's right.
To help you through the process. And so that is, the part of my, childhood sexual abuse experience. And then I do strongly believe that because of that, I ended up in a very unhealthy relationship that was very abusive mentally and physically, emotionally, psychologically. Only one wasn't financially, in my opinion. Maybe it is, maybe as I continue to heal through that. And that has been about, I would say, 14 years. Um, and I have walked through that, but I strongly believe that because of the traumatic experience that I had in my childhood, that I gravitated or drew to that. And I didn't realize that's what it was. When you get in something like that, you really don't, people say, well, I would never be in a type of relationship like that. Well, who won't, who grows up and who says,
Right.
oh, that's the type of relationship I'm in? Nobody does.
Nobody.
You just find yourself in there and not realize that it's not safe and it's not healthy. And then you don't know how to get out. And then you love that person. Let's be honest. You love the person and you think that's love and you have children and you got to think about your children or whatever. But then I got, at that time I didn't know God. I didn't have a relationship with him. But I remember the day vividly. I just had enough. And I said, I'm done. Like, I'm
Right.
done. You got to go.
Right. I know that's right. Well, that's good. Can we get into that forgiveness piece? Like, what does that look like? Forgiving your abuser. Like, how do you begin that process, the forgiving process, and really in its totality, forgive someone who violated you in such a way at such a young age and um continuously done that, throughout middle school? Like, how do you forgive somebody like that? Not just verbalizing it, but actually in your heart forgiving someone, because that's hard to do.
Yes.
That's really hard to do. Forgiving somebody who violated you. So, can you talk about that forgiveness piece? A little bit.
Sure, sure. A long process, and that's a long process as well. It took me coming to God and asking God to forgive me for the hate that I had, because we don't realize having hate for someone is not healthy. And having that hate, can cause all kind of, in my opinion,
Right.
issues and challenges in our bodies physically and mentally and all of that. And so it's not
Right.
good for us to have that weight and carry that around. But understanding that, if God can forgive me every day for the things that I've done wrong, then I need to understand how I can forgive someone else for them being wrong. Maybe it was done to them and maybe they think it's that way. Maybe they are a sick person and
Right.
they think that it should be done that way, but I can't carry that on with me because it was not my fault. And I had to get the understanding that it wasn't my fault, that I didn't do anything to deserve it. I didn't do anything to ask for that. And so walking through that forgiveness process was asking God to help me to forgive them so that I could let that weight go, so that I could be free, because carrying on that unforgiveness is actually extra weight on us and actually carrying extra weight on ourselves. And me forgiving them has nothing to do with them. It has to do with me. And when I
Mhm.
realized that it has to do with me, and it has to do with me being healed and me being okay and me
Right.
being able to speak what happened, my truth, and share what happened to me so that I can not just help other people, but help myself.
Right.
And that way, if I do hear of someone going through that and they just think they can't wake up or they can't get through it or whatever, I can say, hey, look, I know where you're coming from. I may not know
Right.
exactly, what happened, but I know where you're coming from. And if I can get up every day and do this, I can help you get up every day and do this. So I just had to walk through that daily process and understand that if I forgive them, it's not about them. It's about me
Right.
and
Right.
doing things that's about me. And understand that just because I forgave them doesn't mean I let them off the hook, because it's not
Mhm.
up to me to you know, now, and I'll say this, different state laws are different. So, maybe I could have went and, at the time that I really verbalized and realized that that is what happened to me and I knew it, maybe I could have had criminal charges filed, which we have the right to do. I didn't do that. But I realized that, we shouldn't be vindictive to people, and it's up
Mhm.
to God to take care and fight for us. And it's up to Him to, if someone has done something wrong and they don't want to confess to it or they want to act like they don't want to do it, God will deal with them on that.
Right.
And so I just, because of my age and because of the statute of limitations, I didn't go through any criminal charges, but I didn't feel like I needed to be facetious against them
Mm.
or um write negative stuff about them on social media or
Right.
things like that. I do, know enough that if, to say this the right way, like if I were to see them, like
Right. Right. Right.
a situation where I thought that maybe young girl was in danger or not, and I see them with the mom or whatever, like thinking like, should I say something? Because I would just feel so bad
Right.
knowing that I know what happened to me and, hey, this person is a predator
Right.
and you need to be mindful and be careful about that person. So it was just, it's, it was more about me. When I realized that it was more about me, letting things go and it wasn't about the other person, I was okay to forgive them. And that's their
Right.
guilt that they have to walk around with. It's not my
Right.
guilt because
Right.
I'm not guilty for anything because I didn't do anything wrong.
Now, does that do you see that family member? Like, does that bring up triggers? Or when you see that person or somebody brings up their name, like, do you feel like, oh my gosh, I thought that I was over that. Like, I'm still grieving that situation. I'm still grieving what happened to me. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we suppress those things and we think that, oh, we're not over it because you'll never be over something that
Yeah.
happened to you like that. But like you just thought, I forgave them, I'm moving on with my life. But then when you see something or hear something that, that thing that you thought was dead comes up, it arises. Has that ever happened?
Yes, that has happened. And I've seen two of them somewhere, in the community at
Right.
different times. And it has happened. And I'm like, I might say hi to them. Actually, I do. I
Wow.
do say hi. I say, hey, how you
Wow.
doing? And I just keep it moving. Like I don't engage in
Wow.
conversation. I don't engage in anything else. Or I might see them if I'm driving somewhere. But the last time I saw both of them, it was just somewhere else. Or if they do come to like a family member's house or whatever, like family functions, I stay away from them. I don't engage or I leave because
Right.
I don't feel safe and I don't feel comfortable. And I'm at a point in my life now where if I'm in a situation that I don't feel safe, I know I can
Right.
get up and leave, and I can get up and move on. And I don't care what someone has to say. There was a time where I
Right.
would care, but I
Right.
don't care what someone has to say. I'm leaving. And if I don't feel safe and I don't want to be there, I don't want to be there because they're there.
Right.
And you should have never invited them there. But hey.
Right. I can't imagine seeing someone that violated me. Like I can't imagine being in the same room with them. So you have to be very strong to do that. So I commend you for that because that has to be hard. I can't imagine doing that. I don't even want to be in a room with somebody that made me mad or cheated on me or something like that. Like I can't even fathom that. Like I can't even be in a room with you because you're disgusting to me.
Yeah.
So the fact that you can still say hi says a lot about you. I'm not there. I'm not there yet. I don't think I would. I don't know. I can't say I don't think I ever be there, but Lord knows He would have to be there with me for me to do that because I would have to say something like what was wrong with you know what I mean? Like ask about like what was wrong with you back then? Like why did you do that? Why did you? Because I need answers. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? Me personally, like I would need to have some answers because I need to know, and I will be like on the hunt, like whoever he's with. I'm like, "Do you have children?" You know what I mean? Like, I will be on it because I'm like, "You will never violate someone like you violated me. That will never happen again to another child, especially if I know what you're capable of." Now, you could be
Mhm.
reformed and all that, but I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, no, because I mean, did they ever apologize or anything?
No, never apologized. I know one of them mentioned to another family member, admitted to that family member what they did to me. And that family member came back to me, which was another male family member.
Mhm.
And they came back to me and said, that, "Hey, so and so said what they did. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I didn't know that, but they told me what happened, and this and that, and I can't believe that. And but I'm sorry that happened to you." And I'm thinking to myself, like, you're going around telling people,
Right.
like, whatever. Did you think that that family member, which was, like I said, another male, was going to be
Right.
like, I don't know. And I'm like, why are you telling him that? Did you feel guilty
Right.
because of, and it was around a time when that family member was, it was when I was running for office, and they had seen my signs, and there was like some campaigns, some political stuff
Right.
going on with me and my opponent, one of my opponents. And they were out doing stuff with my campaign. And I'm like, was it because maybe you felt guilty at, you know what I mean? That you needed
Right.
to come free with, whatever you had to say. But yeah, but I rarely see them. Like I rarely,
Okay.
rarely see those two family members. And then the other family member doesn't even live here in the state.
Oh,
So I
okay.
never see them at all. Um, and so, and then, the person I was in the abusive relationship with, I see them, from time to time because we have children
Right.
together. But,
Right.
I still make sure that there's no common conversation there. I mean, there's no, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And maintain my safety in that aspect as well.
So were you overprotective when you had your children, like making sure that, they can't go nowhere, they can't be around nobody? Like, were you
Yes.
like hovering over
Yes.
them and being the overprotective mom? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you were? Okay.
Yes, I was, and they weren't allowed to stay at anyone's houses.
Right.
There's only one friend. Friends they're married, and I'm really close with them. And those were that was the only place they ever stayed over, other than like my mom. Of
Right.
course, my
Right.
mom's
Right.
house, with my grandmother. But though that was the only couple that they've ever stayed over, their house that I trusted,
Right.
that I knew nothing was
Right.
going. But no friends, no nobody else, absolutely not, no slumber parties
Right.
that kind of stuff, because as we both know, that's a lot of times where that stuff happens.
It is.
And then your children don't know how to share with you. And I was always asking them, like, did something happen to you? Like, did somebody do something to you? If they tell
Right.
you that they're going to hurt me, no one's going to hurt me. I always believe you. If that's what you said, that's what you say. And I'll never think less of you. And they're like, oh, shut up. Leave me alone.
Right.
But I'm so serious. Like, I want to know
Yeah.
because, at that time, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if it was normal. I didn't know that that's not something that you do. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
Right.
people say, like, why didn't you say? 'Cause I didn't know it wasn't something, it was never like, don't tell anybody. It was made like it was something fun to do. And
Right.
then, when I was like 3 or whatever, like younger, I didn't, remember it, but I don't remember conversations about it or what was said or anything. I just remember it happening to me. And a part of during that time in my childhood, I believe that because of the severity of it, like the dissociation happened. So there's a portion of my childhood that I unfortunately don't remember because of it. And I believe it was just God protecting me because the abuse was so severe that he just protected me. And then so because of that, there's certain memories and things that I just don't have as a child, or I hear people talk about. There's things I do remember, but there's some things that I just don't remember. But or I'll remember like them walking me into the room or someone on top of me, things
Right.
like that. So
Right.
I'll
Right.
remember things like that, but I don't remember like when I was, really younger, the full extent. And
Right.
I will say I'm grateful to God
Right.
that I don't, because I do hear stories of people and they do remember to that extent. Now I was in middle school,
Right.
yes. But elementary and middle, yes. But when I was like a little younger, no. You know what I mean? I just
Right.
remember like the
Right.
certain instance, but not, you know what I mean? The
Right.
full.
Now, what gave you the strength to verbalize that to someone? What did, how did you just come out and blurt that out about someone violating you? Like, what gave you that courage, or how did you come out with that?
Started, I've always been a writer.
Right.
And I've always loved to write. I actually love to read. That's what I mentioned before. I love to read. I can read like 2 or 3 books at a time, and I
Wow.
had to slow that down. So I really love to read and be Because of that abuse, as a child, I read a lot because I absorbed myself in books because it was safe for me. I'm sorry.
That's
Mm.
okay.
It was a safe place for me to read
Right,
because I could leave that situation. I could leave that
right,
environment
right,
and I could escape into something different.
right,
And so to this day, I just love to read and I love to learn, but books were just my safe space. And writing, I
right.
love to write. And so I had started writing poetry. And and I still know her. I think she does it on Sundays now, but at one of our art associations, and she actually worked at a shoe store, like a kid's shoe store. And I was there when I had my youngest son,
Mhm.
and I had him at 19, and I remember going there, and she was like, I don't know how I just don't, it had to be God, I know it. Because
Right,
I never saw, I mean, I was just there buying shoes for my son, and she's talking about she does this poetry thing. Would I be interested in going? And it's an older white lady, and I'm thinking, like, what is she talking to me about?
right,
And I'm like, she's like, do you like to write? And I'm like, yeah, I do like to write. And so I started writing I had already written poetry, but I started going and
right.
reading. And through my poetry, I started to share my experience.
Mhm.
And because I started to share my experience, then it allowed me to develop my voice and
Wow,
allowed me to be able to speak about it, but write it down and speak about it or share about what happened to me and realize that my writing and my spoken word and my poetry was an opportunity for me to heal internally. But actually, when I was sharing it, that it was healing other people in the audience or, people afterwards, will come back and say, hey, I dealt with that, or I know
right,
what you're talking about, or wow, I would have never thought that, or, I need to bring, someone that I know here so they can hear that. So it was my writing and me being able to vocalize my writing
wow.
that allowed me to be able to share it verbally.
Wow, that is deep. Like that is really, really deep. It is like, oh my gosh, you really that's something that people don't think about. Writing it down or you can voice it. You know what I mean? You can vocalize your experience and that's healing to you and for someone else. That's really, really, really good. So you were able to write it down and speak about it through your poetry. And
Yes.
that's how you kind of freed yourself. Like how so did it stop? How did it just or did it just stop? You know what I mean? Like you spoke about it, you voiced it,
Mhm.
and then like did someone hear it and followed up on it or like how did that go?
Remember, like, one of my family members would come to my poetry events and stuff, and then they, heard about it. But this was not when I was in middle school. Like I said, I was out of school by then. I
Oh,
was
yeah,
an
you
adult
were out of
by then.
yeah.
Yeah, I was an adult by then. So they, heard me speak about it, and then they had talked with me privately. A family member that I'm really close with had talked to me
Right,
privately about
right,
it and shared about something and happening to them, and that they understood. They didn't know that that was happening to me, and they're sorry. They were sorry about it. I'm like, well, it's not your fault. You didn't
right,
know, and that it made sense. Why some things that as a child that behaviors I was having and things like
right,
that. That kind of now it made sense to them,
right,
and then from there, like I just started verbalizing more and I started reading
right,
more up about it and then I went into counseling so that I could get help about it because then it started bringing up the memories of it and I didn't know
right,
what to do with it at that time. I didn't know how to verbalize other things about it.
right,
And then, from there, then, I will go to therapy and stop and go again and stop and go,
right.
which I think sometimes is just normal with people
Yeah,
and then continue through that cycle. But it was really me just writing it down and having the courage to verbalize it in that way.
right.
I believe, to me, and I've said this before, like writing to me is like breathing.
Wow, that's profound. That's really, really good. Wow. So you never like told your mom?
Yeah, she knows. Actually, when I was in middle school, my mother walked in on one of the abusers, the family member abusing me, and at that time I was blamed for it. And, I didn't understand why I was blamed for it because
Right.
at the time I knew what sex was, and then I knew what it was, but it just wasn't presented to me with that person. It was like I don't know, like we were playing a game or something. I don't
Mhm.
know, like, that's the best way I can put it. And, um, and so I dealt with that, having that for a long time, like
Right.
not hate, but not having that love for my mother
Mhm.
that, I, would want to have because I was like, "Wow, why would you blame me for it?" You know what I
Right.
mean? And the individual, they got, sent back to where they were from, with another family member out of state, and I was like, "Wow," but that wasn't my fault, like, I didn't you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and no one talked about it. No one in the house talked about it. No
Yeah.
one took me to counseling. No one said anything. So for years until I started verbalizing it, did, I start sharing about it and things like that. And to this day, to be honest with you, I haven't had that conversation with my mother, but I have forgiven her because I desired that relationship with my mother. I love her very much. She's a wonderful mother,
Right.
wonderful grandma and great grandma. But I had to forgive her as well and realize that she didn't know what to do.
Right.
And she was under that age group where, what happens in the house stays in the
Stays in the
house.
house.
And
Right.
I really believe she just didn't know what to do and she didn't know what to say. And um she was doing the best that she could. I really believe that. I don't believe that she would do anything to harm me or my
Right.
children or, anything like that. So I forgave her and just kept it moving. And I haven't had that conversation with her at all. But she knows about it, obviously. And
Right.
she knows how it has affected me.
Do you think that that's part of your healing? Your mom apologizing for that and not believing you? Do you believe that that's part of your healing? That's a component that's missing in your healing process, even though you say, she knows about it, but it's something
Hmm.
different for someone saying, you know what, I dropped the ball on that. I apologize. I didn't believe you. I should have, but I didn't know no better. I just thought, just from what I was taught, this is what I was taught. This is what I was taught to believe. This is what I was taught to respond. This was my
Yeah.
response
Yeah.
that was taught to me. Like, would that small bit of comfort, like, would that, is that, do you seem like, do you feel like that's part of your healing process? Like, would break something or unlock something with your mom apologizing or just acknowledging that, she dropped the ball on that situation?
Believe yes, and I never thought about that. Thank you for revealing that, bringing that up because I never thought about that.
Right.
Yes, yes, it would.
Yeah,
Yes, it
because
would.
I just believe that those components like mean a lot to us. Like if you would do this part and that part, and it will all come together. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So it means a lot, especially as a woman, when our moms take accountability for things that happen. And moms, back then, this in their 70s plus now, they be like, well, I was sorry. I
Yeah,
didn't,
yeah,
no, I
yeah.
need you to express that to me as a mother, just letting me know that you love me and that you just took accountability for that,
You're right,
for
right.
those things that happened to me. And I think that will unlock some things and just make your relationship better, because it's like you took accountability. I trust that you didn't know. I trust that you didn't understand. I know that we take these, that's why I always say, like, things that I've learned from growing up, I said I will never apply that to my life or my children's life, because that ain't right. I have to deprogram,
Yes,
reprogram
yes,
myself and my thoughts, because I'm like, just because you did that or just because I experienced that, my children will not experience that.
yes,
And I will not put those beliefs on my children.
right.
You know what I
Absolutely right.
mean? So sometimes we got to retrain our minds, because it's like, just because they did don't make it right. It might seem right back then, but that wasn't right. And sometimes we just don't understand that. And then we grow up, we like, damn, acting just like my mom, doing some of the things my mom
Oh
did. I'm
yes,
saying some of the things my mom said. And I know that ain't right. So I gotta
yeah,
get it right. I gotta retrain this thought
yeah.
process here. You know what I mean? So sometimes we do have to do that. I had to relearn some things that was taught to me. And I always tell myself my mom didn't know better back then, but you do know how to apologize.
You're right about
So,
that.
I don't have my mom, but I always said that, like I always said, mom, like, you know how to apologize. You might not did everything right, but at least come and comfort me and let me know that it wasn't my fault. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, was it my fault? Was I a little promiscuous? Like,
Yeah,
was it me?
yeah.
I asked for it? Did I want it? Just that assurance that, you're saying as a mom, like, I love you and I'm sorry that happened to you. Sometimes we need that, because I needed some of those things from my mom. I haven't experienced some of the things that you experienced, but the men in and out the house, the drug abuse and stuff like that. Like, I
Yeah.
never could forgive my mom But then as I got older, and I wasn't able to ask her because she's no longer with us. But I'm like, okay, mom, you didn't know better. You did what you did. You did the best that you could with what you had.
Uh-huh,
But,
uh-huh,
on
uh-huh.
her dying bed, she did apologize. And so I was like, whew, thank you, Lord, that you was able to say that before you passed away. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That Val,
yeah,
I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? I'm so sorry. And then, I guess that was just wrapped in one. Like, I'm just sorry. Whatever I did, whatever I said, what if I wasn't there, the drugs, leaving you by yourself, having you fend for yourself, I'm sorry. And I received that. Because I did need that.
yes,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
From my mom, I did need that because I did feel abandoned. You know what I mean? I feel like that's why I'm so hard. I don't love no men. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to love, hard open up my heart and stuff like that. We don't understand that trauma and how it affects us, but we take it into
yes,
our relationships, like you were saying. You took it in your relationships, like you just thought that stuff was normal, the
yeah,
abuse and all that. We just accepted it because we wanted to be accepted.
yep, that's right.
You know what I mean? And so now as I, getting older, as I'm getting older and I'm maturing, my mind is maturing, and I got that relationship with God. I don't have to tolerate that. That is not life. That's not no way to
That's
live.
right.
And you want to respect me the way
That's
I
right.
want to be respected.
Yes.
And so that's that. And we lower our standards, back then, not now, but then
Mhm,
we lowered our
mhm.
standards. We like, well, he's okay. He opens the door for me. That should be good, whatever. Like the little
Yeah.
things that they do, we feel like, oh, we can substitute that for their ignorance. But no.
Mhm.
And so there are some of the things that, that we did or doing, and we have wisdom now. And so my next question is like, what did you survive, other than that you're still learning how to talk about? Are there some other things that you survived that you're still learning, and it's, how to talk about it?
Yes. I survived leaving a very unhealthy ministry that I was in. And I'm still learning how to talk about that and
Right,
still learning how to be in that place. I often share I wasn't, what some people say, like raised in ministry
right,
and things like that. Not to say I didn't go to church or anything like that with my mom or with other friends, in the neighborhood and go
right,
to church and stuff like that. I'm not saying that, but when I say raised in ministry, I mean, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't something
right,
that was
right,
ingrained in me that we constantly went, that I was a part of this church and we went, you know what I mean? Yeah, we went to the
right,
church but it wasn't anything that we were part of the foundation and you know what I
right,
mean? All of that
right,
and a part of leadership. It was nothing like that in my family. It
right,
wasn't talked about or anything like that. So um going there and expecting one thing and it turning out to just not be an unhealthy situation for me, and me coming out of that and still really healing from that, really still raw with me, and still understanding myself after that situation, is really something right now that I'm still walking through.
right. So through that experience, how do you view the church now because of that experience? Are you hesitant? Like, how did that shape you leaving that situation?
Mhm. I'm very hesitant as far as the church to building.
Yeah, the
I know
church, the
that,
building.
the
Yeah.
church,
We
we
are
are
the
the church.
yeah. Mhm.
We are the church as a people. That I believe that, um, it has really shaped my view on um who God is and who he is not, and who I was told to believe that he was through a structure or through manipulation or through just twisting of things and scriptures and things like that. So my view of it is that for certain people, it's just for certain people, if the systems aren't healthy there, it's not a healthy place. To each his own. If that's where you want to go, I'm not saying don't go to a church and don't
Right.
worship God. I love God. I love him so
Right.
much. I mean, I can't do nothing without him. Come
I know
on now.
that's right. Hey.
You know, but understanding that I don't have to go into a physical church building to have a relationship with God. I don't have to do that. I have my relationship with him here in my house. I got my
Right.
relationship with him in my car,
I
at
know
the
that's
grocery
right.
store, at the gym, and which is, something that, I love doing. And so I just believe that he's in so many places and so many things and he's everywhere,
Right.
and that he's not just in a building, and
Right.
that as people of God, if we call ourselves people of God, we should be outside of the building and we should be
Yes.
shining his light outside the building by the things whatever gifts and talents we have, that is us showing who he is to other people. We don't have to always be preaching and teaching and, and if that's what you're called to do, that's what you're called to do. I'm not saying,
Right.
but you don't always have to be doing that. To shine his light or to show who he is. The fact that we got up every day, that he gave us another chance is us showing your podcast is you showing who he is.
Right.
Giving someone a hug, telling someone they're beautiful, letting someone know, hey girl, I like them outfit you got on, might have brightened her day.
Mm-hmm.
Or where you get that lipstick from? Or letting somebody know, look, girl, he ain't good for you. You need to keep him
Right.
moving.
Right.
You
Right.
know what
For
I mean?
real.
Or, hey, girl,
Yes.
he's a good one, so you might want to get yourself together.
Right.
Now, you might want to stop doing what you're doing for you lose something good here. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, and all those things, God is in there. Um, and so for me, my view, I'm hesitant with a lot of things right now. And I'm still trying to figure out everything and break off what was not real and understand what is real. But I know God is real. I have no
God
doubt
is
about
definitely
that in my
real.
mind. Now, nobody never changed my mind on that. I know he is real. And so, but me being okay with, just saying, hey, at this time, I'm in a transition right now. And, because you'll get people, oh, I want you to go to my church or I want you to go here or there.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm in a transition right now. Thank you for the invitation.
Right.
But, I'm in a transition right now, but just being okay to be in that place right now, is where I am right now. And being okay to say, hey, being okay to not have to validate that I love God. I was sharing on here, but to someone else, because people think because you left somewhere that you don't love God or whatever. But
Right.
I'm in that space where I'm at now, where I'm like, I don't have to validate to them, you
Right.
know, who are they? God knows
Exactly.
who I am.
Exactly. Definitely knows who you are. So leaving that environment, of course, I was in the environment as well. Like it kind of jacked me up, to say the least.
Me too.
Only because when you love someone and they proclaim to have loved you or
Yes.
whatever, and then they showed you who they were, and you finally had to believe it, even though
Yes.
the red flags were there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But you try to be supportive and you try to like do the God thing,
Yeah.
love them, and then, for someone to say that, for a leader to say that they love God and they love his people and to show the complete opposite, that's like gut wrenching. Like it's like
Yes.
you punch me in my gut real hard, because it's like I believed you, I trust you, I trusted you, I trusted what you said, I believed what you said, I believed that God was in you and that you heard from God, and you could have heard from a different God, but
Yeah.
not the God that I serve. And
Yes.
so I just think that when you go around intentionally hurting people and then allowing other people to hurt God's people is
Yes.
crazy. It is crazy. And, nobody should have to go to therapy after, leaving a church.
Yes. Yes.
I don't, because of that trauma that, was embedded into you for that long period of time,
Yes.
and the deceit and the lies and the manipulation, that is traumatic.
Very.
And for, a leader not to take responsibility and to continuously think that you are doing the right thing and that you did the right thing is ridiculous. It is delusional,
Yes.
for a better term. It's delusional. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, I know it messed me up mentally, but God is able.
Yes. Yes, he
And
is.
yeah, God is able, and he's a sustainer. And most
Yeah.
times we put our faith in people and not enough faith in God. And that's how sometimes we get hurt, because we're thinking, well, the God in them, you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
should help me out. Like it should do these things for me, instead of going to God first and not, putting them up on a pedestal as if they're
Right.
God, as if we don't
Right.
hear for God. Sometimes leaders
Come
try to
on.
silence you so
Yes.
that you only hear from them. You only hear their voice. No, I don't, and they confuse you and they build it up so much where you're like, maybe I should hear from them first and then talk to God. You know what I mean? Converse
Yeah.
with God
Yeah.
after that. No, you go to God first, and then whatever
That's
they say
right.
should line up with the word.
That's right.
But no,
That's
we
right.
let them speak and then see if it's going to line up. No,
Yes.
God first, and then you listen to them and figure out, okay, are they telling the truth? Is that something that God is saying? But you be in that trance for so long that you're
Yes.
like, and then they like pound it in your head, like this is the voice that you should hear, like this
Yeah.
is the only voice that you hear. God talks to me first. No, God's going to talk to me first. And then we
Right.
start to believe it because of our heart towards that individual.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and that's why it's like it's so hard, because it's like I trusted you with my life, and I should have just trusted God with my life, and I should have measured the God in you. You know what I mean? I should have measured that thing, and I should have judged it. Not judge you, but judge the thing that you were doing. And because we love a person so much, we just like, I don't want to judge them, because I really believe that they love God. I really believe they hear from the Lord, but we should have judged it. We should have judged what they were saying, and
You're
not just
absolutely right.
being so, like, I believe him, I believe him. No, and that lets me, that took me into a place where I'm not believing what nobody say. I got to check with the Lord first. If God ain't saying it, I ain't saying it. You know what I
Yes, yeah,
mean?
yeah, because you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you go.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. Because I feel, maybe the same things that you said. Like, you have someone that you love, and they say they love you, and then it's like, so why would you hurt me in that way and distort me in that way and manipulate me in that way? Because that's not love. Love is not, love. That's not love.
Right.
There's a thing for survivors of domestic violence. It's like called things called a manipulation control will. So will shows the opposite of what love is, opposite of what manipulation, blame, and all that. And that's what's on that opposite of side of that. And that's not love. And so you come out of that, and then I know for me personally, I'm not sure what is. I know what is love, but it's like it's hard to, like, with certain people or things like that. You might have new people come into your life. You're like, are you going to be manipulating me? You playing games with
Right.
me? Not
Right.
just a relationship, but friendships and, work relationships and things like that. Like, okay, they said this, but do they really care about me? Or are they checking on
Right.
me for real? Or are they just trying to check in on me and see what I'm up to? Do they
Hmm.
really care about my success? You just saying something so that you can get something from me. You want me to do something for you, so it's all those things that are in my mind, I'll be
Hmm.
honest, when either,
Right.
someone that's new in my life or someone that is in my, what I mean, my life, I'm like, it's not being sure about it because of you're in something for so long where someone shares that they love you and this and that, but then you find out that they didn't love you. They loved themselves,
Right.
and they wanted to magnify themselves above Christ. And that is not God, and above God, that's not true. And then even not, coming out of that, not understanding or being in a place where, oh, I know that I hear from God, but am I hearing from him clearly? Am I really hearing from him? Like, is that his voice I really hear?
Right.
And being able to retrain my ear so that I can hear his voice again. You know what I mean? To make sure I'm hearing his voice clearly, or I'm feeling from him and knowing from him and understanding him, and not being so ritualistic about things.
Hmm.
Because of coming out of that. And so that is just it's just so it's so true. And it's so true. Like, I think people think that you just come out of something like that and you just jump into something else. No,
Hmm.
I was in therapy too, and had to understand what was going on with me, having anxiety and just, because of all the control and leaving out of just jumping out of that controlling situation, and then not having that control there in my life, and being okay with, okay, I don't need that control. I don't need to be someone checking in on my life. I am a grown woman, okay? A real
Yeah,
grown woman.
I know that.
I don't need to be checking in with
Right. Exactly.
nobody about what I'm doing because I pays these bills around here,
I
okay?
know that's
So,
right.
so I don't need to be checking in with nobody about what I'm doing. I need to be checking in with God first, like you said,
Right.
and checking in with him. And if, I'm not saying that we can't hear wrong or
Right.
perceive something wrong, because it's
Right.
normal. We're not, but I can hear from him too. And I've been hearing from him.
Right.
And if he got something to say to me, why would he go to someone else to say it before he has to say it to me?
Right.
Unless, I'm coming to that person for counsel or something like that.
Right.
But
Exactly.
but all the time, no, he should be speaking to us
Right.
first.
Definitely.
If we're talking back to talking to him, God talks back.
Right. He
I don't
sure
care what nobody
does.
say.
Yes,
He
he
talks
does.
right back to us. If you're talking to him, he talks right back to you. He may not always say what we want to hear,
Right.
but that's not what he's there for. He is a true loving father, and he's not
Definitely.
there to say what we want to hear. And
Right.
it has been, traumatic. My children were, there, so
Affected by it.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, and it's just like learning myself. I'm in a place now where I'm just learning myself. I'm learning who Edquina
Right.
is. And in that process, there's a lot of things about myself that I put to the side
Hmm.
for that place and for that leader and for that
Right.
time. I put a lot of things that I wanted to do or things that I knew that was part of me to the side. And
Right.
just getting back to, hey, no, if I want to go do that, I'm doing that. And if I think that this is
Exactly.
what I need to be doing today, that's what I do. If I feel like I ain't doing that, I ain't doing that.
Exactly.
If I
Right.
want to do this event, I'm doing this event. If I want to, you know what I mean? I'm not, um, there's no restrictions. God is
Right.
limitless. There's no
Right.
restrictions.
Definitely. He is.
There's no restrictions. It's not all this, I don't know, it's just not all these rules. And
Right.
it,
You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't smile. You can't laugh. You can't say hi. You can't say bye. You can't do nothing.
it's not God.
It's not.
It's just not God. Like,
It's
who,
not.
and why would you think that God is like that? Is what I,
Right.
think about. Like, why would you think God is like that? But and I had to forgive myself for that
Right.
situation. I had to forgive
Definitely.
myself for me
Yep.
being there. And, when I would be feeling like, I was like, oh, my children were there, I had to forgive myself for that because I was just doing what I thought was best. And being okay with, okay, that was a time period, but I believe that um, the things that we go through, God will allow us to use that to help someone else
Definitely.
that will be going through that situation, to let them
Right.
know that they can get through it. And hey, you might have a rocky couple years. You may not. I mean, I don't
Right.
know, but hey,
Definitely.
I'm here for you.
I know that's
I
right.
understand where you are coming from. If nobody else
Right.
will understand
That's
what you're
right. I know
talking
that's
about,
right.
I understand where you
Definitely
are coming
understand.
from.
Yes, for real. Yeah, because somebody can be going through that and like feeling like, they have to stay. You don't have to stay. You do not have to stay. Get out, listen to what God is saying and know his voice. Don't let nobody, tell you that that's not God. I have a relationship with God and I know his voice and this is God and there's nothing that you can say or do about it. This is what he said and this is what I'm doing. No fear because you feel like I want to be loyal. I just don't want to leave this person alone. No, you left God. You left God. So who do
Yes,
you want to, who do you want to be disappointed with you, man or God?
yes,
Man, you go ahead and be disappointed with me, but God,
yes.
the way maker, the miracle worker, the provider. Oh, no,
Yes, I
no,
was thinking about what you were going to say. You can be loyal to man or you can be loyal to God. Like, come on. Who are
exactly.
you going to be loyal to? And if you're being loyal to God and that's what God says, and you think like, oh, well, maybe I make a mistake, then he will make sure
He sure
that he
will.
reroutes you. Okay? Just like GPS.
Exactly.
He will reroute you.
He will
And so,
reroute
and
you.
so, trust like, no, that was not healthy for me. I know how I felt there and I know how I feel now.
Now, right,
And no, that was not it.
right. And you got to know the difference.
Yes.
You have to know the difference. It doesn't matter if God tells you something and somebody else tells you that's not God, and don't leave me. That's like an abusive relationship.
Yep.
You allowing them to
Yep.
abuse you and say, "Oh, it's my fault. I get no." Goodbye.
Uh-huh. It is very
Leave.
abusive. It
Yeah,
is
it's
very
abusive
abusive.
relationship. It's an abusive relationship. They don't want you to leave. And like I said, maybe, they need help. Maybe they
Yes.
need therapy. Maybe something happened to them growing up where they're spewing it onto other people. But if you hear from God, God is going to take you through that process. And so to me, it's like you don't want to go through that process. You want to keep being who you are.
That's right. And then, and want to keep that, like that title. When you started
Mhm.
off the podcast and you were sharing like who are you without the title?
Right.
Because
Right.
God, we're birthed into this world. We don't have no title.
At
And
all.
until our parents give us a name. They give us a name. That's the first, you know
That's
what I mean?
it.
We're his children. He give our parents give us a name, and that's what we have. But who are you without that? And are you okay?
Right.
If you can't be okay with just being your name, there
Right.
is a problem.
There is definitely a
You know,
problem.
people be called by, whatever names, titles I have in the I say, no, I'm just a queena.
That's it.
You can call me a queena. I'm not, that doesn't phase me,
Right.
because at the end of the day, when I come home, my kids is expecting me to have dinner cooking, the pots pot.
I know that's right.
You know what I mean? They don't care.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care about no title. That's
My
why my
mom
name
don't,
is
my
Just
family
Val.
don't. Yep, my family don't. You know what I mean? They could care less.
They can care less. They don't care at all. And that's why I love just being myself. Just
Yeah,
being Val. That's it. That's all I got. That's all
that's
I got
right.
is my name. Like that's
That's
it.
right.
This Val. That's it. That's all I have. And people make you seem like that's it. Like you don't that's it. You know what I mean?
Else you got to give? Just be yourself. Enjoy life. You know what I
Enjoy
mean?
life.
I make mistakes,
That's
just
it.
like everybody else. I laugh. I have fun like everybody else.
Right.
And I'm not giving a facade. And
That's
I'm
it.
not going to. I know there was a time where I'd be like, oh, I only could say this, or I need to be this way. No. That
No.
queen died a long time ago. She died about a year ago now, and she is not being resurrected at all. And so if I feel like I don't want to be here, if I feel like this is not for me, if I feel like this is for me, if I feel like I need to say something, I'm going to say it. If I feel like I'm going to laugh at something, because there was even a time where I'd be like, I wanted to laugh, but I didn't laugh. No, I'm laughing. That's funny.
Right.
Maybe I'm the only one at the
Suppressing
table
your
laughing,
laugh.
but I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, right. Right. Yes, because I will laugh in a hot minute. Listen.
If I see something, I'm like, oh, that was funny. But just getting them like, no, and I'm not going to be fake.
Exactly.
If I feel like you're not a good person, or you are a person that I don't need to be around, I'm going to make sure I'm not around you.
Right.
And I'm not going to put myself in that situation. And if you ask me, I'm going to tell you at this time.
That's right.
You're not for me. I don't think you're a good person. You ask.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to know, and I'm not going to talk, I don't feel like I need to talk to you or whatever. So you're not going to force me into a situation where I'm not feeling safe now, because I would be timid, and I'm coming out of that. And I'm so
Right.
happy about that, because hey, it is what it is.
It is
It
what
is
it
what it
is.
is.
Yeah, because that stuff will steal your joy. You know
Yes.
what I mean? You walking around being somebody else. You're like, who in the world is this? I was happy. I'm lovable. I'm loud. You know what I mean? Little crazy here and there. But now I'm
Yeah.
just like a stiff stick.
And
Like
that ain't
what?
cool. And who wants to live
Oh,
like that?
no one wants to be all stiff all the time. You can't do this. You can't go
Yeah.
to the left. You can't go to the right. No, I'm enjoying my life.
Yes.
And I'm not
Yes.
letting nobody dictate it. The only person that's dictating my life is God.
That's right. That's
That is
right.
it. Ain't nobody else can do me like the Lord. So
That's right.
that is that. And so as you heal, as you're healing, there's a good way or a bad way that you're healing.
Mhm.
Like what does that look like? What does that healing process look like? Not the polished version, like, but what
Mhm.
does the healing process look like, whether it's like I said, a good healing or a bad healing? I'm healing through this and it's not good, but I'm still doing XYZ. Or you can be
Mhm.
healing, in a good way. Because I know I do both.
Yeah, I do both too. And it's crying, writing, which I think are both good things to do, to
Right, right.
release it. Not good holding it in, uh,
Right.
putting on a face for everyone when I'm not having a good day.
Mhm.
When someone says, "Hey, how's your day going?" If it's not going good, be and say, "Hey, it's not good." And sometimes I'm not there. Sometimes I'm like, it's going good, and it's
Right.
not really going good, or
Right.
I'll say it's going okay, and it may be an okay day, but maybe a day where shoot, like it was a close one today.
Right, right.
And then sometimes it's just unhealthy behaviors, or unhealthy friendships or
Right.
relationships with people, or it can be, for me it could be a lot, or it can be isolating myself when I need to come out,
Right.
and just being a recluse, in my rooms. I've been doing that a lot, which I know is not normally me, but I've been doing that a lot. Um, Another negative thing, I like to sew or like to create. Not doing that and just allow my thoughts to constantly like ruminate in my mind. And I'm replaying things over and over again or
Right.
situations and
Right.
man, maybe I should say that. Should I do this? Should I do that? It just comes up like healing for me is a hodgepodge
Yeah.
right now for me of a whole lot of stuff. Sometimes it's me in my car driving, yelling, screaming, crying,
Right.
driving in my car with no music playing and
Hmm.
silence. There was a friend of mine, um, when I used to, I'm gonna say I used to because I still do spoken word. I just haven't rocked the mic in a minute. Um, but I was in a spoken word group a while ago, maybe like a decade ago. And he would always, one of the members of the group, he would tell me like how he would drive in his car in silence. What's wrong with you? He's like, there's a problem. He said, there's like a problem when you can't sit with your own thoughts. And I
Right.
instantly started thinking about that. There's a problem when you can't sit
Right.
with your own thoughts. Like I was thinking like, what is wrong with him? Like he's a mess. Like, which he is. But he's a good guy, but he was just a classic. But I was like, but it's true. You can't sit with your own thoughts. There is a
Right.
problem. And so I'm even doing that, like not having music playing or anything, just driving
Hmm.
and sitting with my thoughts and sitting with where I am. And sometimes it is like I'm just crying while I'm driving from here to there. And sometimes it's and being okay with that. Mm.
Yeah, like I can't sit. Sometimes when I'm driving, my mind just be going everywhere. So I'm like, I got to turn me a little something on low, and start
Yeah.
speaking in tongues or something, so I can clear my mind, get my mind right. But that is a good place to be, just to sit there with your thoughts, whether it's positive or negative thoughts, just to sit in there, and let God minister to you because He sure
Yes.
will.
Yes,
He,
he
he most
will.
certainly will minister to you in those quiet moments when you're still.
Yes.
And so that's a good place to be in silence. Just being still and just listening to yourself and listening to see what God has to say or where He wants you to
Yes.
go. So that's one thing about just sitting there thinking about your thoughts. My other question is, what did you stop running from? When did you start running from your story and start owning it?
It was a time when I wrote my first book, my book From the Pole to the Pulpit. And in that, when I wrote the book and got it published, I had began selling the book and doing speaking engagements. And through that, I began stop running from it and telling my story and stop hiding from who I am and being okay to be imperfect, um, perfectly imperfect, and being okay with that. So that's when I stopped running and hiding from that portion of my story with the abuse. But for me right now, I'm just like, this is it. Like I'm 48 years old, and if this is it, this is just it right now. And this is
Right.
just something that I have to walk through. I may not want to walk through it, but I'm gonna have to walk through it to get to the other side. And
Definitely.
I don't want the God to take me the hard way. I don't. I want to go His way. I don't want to go the hard way. I don't want to go by the mulberry bush. I don't want to go through the rose bush. I don't want to go through the cherry tree. I don't want. I want to go, His way. And so
Right.
just being okay to me right now with sharing my story right now is because this is where I am.
Right.
And if this is where I am, guess what? This is where God has me at.
Right.
And if somebody don't like me here, then don't like me at. I mean, here,
I
this
know
is
that's
it.
right.
I can only give you this right now. This is all I
That's
have.
it. I
If
know
you
that's
want
right.
the future version of me, I haven't even met her yet. So how the heck
Right.
can I give you her? If you want to pass me, I can't give you her.
Right.
I don't even know what the future me look like. I don't know what I look like tomorrow. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know,
Exactly.
and so this is all I got to give you. And if that's not enough, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
I just don't know. And I'm not going to tell you nothing because this is just it.
Now tell me about this title of your book, of your first
Yes.
book, From the Pole to the Pulpit. Yeah. So
Yes. Yes.
let's talk about that title.
Yes. So, it was a title that me and my sister, actually was playing around with one time. And I said, that'd be a good title for a book. She was like, oh yeah, you should do that. And so that's where it came from. But through the book, it actually tells the story of a young lady named Morgan who is a stripper. Some people want to say private dancer, stripper, keep it real.
Hmm.
She's a stripper. And through the process, she has a lot of stuff going on. The book starts out with her in the strip club and doing her job. And she goes through life challenges, situation and things and stuff with family members. She goes through questioning her life. And, it ends up with her finding God, and her sharing her testimony. And so, that's where I came up with, me and my sister, but through the story from the pole to the pulpit, because she went to the pole from the pole and to finding God and on the pulpit sharing her testimony. And I wanted to share with people that we have to stop judging each other, especially as
Right.
women and Black women. We got to stop judging each other because we don't know people's stories. We don't know where they came from. We don't know why they're stripping, why they're prostituting, why they're getting high. We don't
Right.
know that because you never even you don't why would someone I keep thinking, why would someone grow up and say, I want to get high. I want to be a drug addict. I want to be a stripper. I want to be a prostitute. Nobody grows up and says that. You know what I
No.
mean? I want to grow up and I want to, sell drugs or whatever. Nobody's just growing up saying that. People are going through things in life and it leads them down these paths. But I wanted to show that God is a healer. He's a redeemer. And he can wipe your slate clean in the blink of an eye.
Right.
And that you can have a past, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have a future for you. And just because you're past, it doesn't determine the future that he has for you. So I just wanted it to be a book that all women could have the opportunity to identify in some way with Morgan and who she is, whether it was her being a private dancer, whether it was her dealing with her issues with family, whether it was her dealing with internal issues, whether it was her, getting the courage to share her testimony, whether, it was her having friend issues. And I was able to put in there all aspects of us as women that we just deal with during the normal day to humanize who Morgan was. That I'm more,
Right.
I would at the time when I was um promoting the book, which I'm always promoting the book, but at the time when I first put it out, I had a hashtag that said I am Morgan because I wanted us to just stop judging people so much.
Right.
I don't
Right.
like to judge people because you just never know. That stripper can be the one that can lead you to Christ.
I know that's right.
That stripper can be the one that you might be uh in the line and you thought your meal was going to be $15, but it's $18.95, and she got the rest of the change to help you out to get your meal. And so you just never know. She could offer you a kind word in the store. You don't know who she is, or a stripper, or whatever. So we have to stop as women, especially as Black women. We got to stop judging one another, and we got to be open to help one another. We got to be open to listen to one another. I'm not saying put yourself in a negative situation or whatever, but we have to be open to stop judging each other.
Right. And tearing each other down.
Yes, yes,
Tearing each other down. Because as
yes,
Black women, we do tend to tear each other down, you know what I mean? And try to make each other look bad.
yes.
But that's not cool. If we come together, we can be some powerful women,
Oh, yes, we
more
can.
powerful than what we are.
Yes, we can.
But that's retraining, what we learn and retraining what we believe. You know what I mean? We're stronger together than we are apart. As women, we
Yes,
can
we
come
are.
up with we have so much ideas. We're so creative. And
Yes, yes,
so
we are.
imagine we putting that creativity together, how powerful we would be,
Yes,
so
very
but
powerful.
very, very powerful. Now tell me about the little snippets that you do. Tell us about the little snippets that you do on Facebook every day. Tell us about that and where that came about.
And so that is on my business name is Redeemed Queen. And I do little snippets just to motivate, empower, uplift, and encourage women. I try to keep it very short, but try to share something that can just encourage them and guide and lead them. It was me being obedient to God and Him sharing with me that I need to open up and share my voice. I have been silent for so long. And, I shared in the beginning my voice, me writing and using my voice to share, what's on my mind or what's on my heart is so much a core and a part of me. And for so many years, like over a decade, my voice was really silenced in a certain frame. Him giving me the green light to say, it's time for you to start releasing your voice so that people can hear your voice and hear what I put inside of you. and being okay with that, and so me trusting with him to say, what do you want me to say, God?
Right.
Literally I ask him, like, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to share? What do you want them to hear? Asked him, that allow what he gives me to share through my Redeemed Queen page, through the snippets, to heal, to share his love, to bring joy, to bring help to the women, and to help them through whatever situations that they're going through. But it to be something where they hear his voice and don't, I know it's him wanting me for them to hear my voice, but I want them to hear his voice and my voice.
Right. Through you.
Yes, and so that, they can hear whatever it says, whether I'm just saying, have a great day, or, always wear your crown. And just reminding women that, every day when we get up to wear our crown, you can put on a physical crown if you want. I'm down with that because
I
sometimes I
know
do.
that.
'Cause I gotta remind myself who I am some days.
I know
And
that.
I have me a physical crown, and there's, but I believe that every day we wake up with that crown on our head. And I want to remind us as women um, that we have a crown on our head. Remember your crown. Remember who you are. I know some days it's hard to remember. Some days we forget, but remember your crown. You've walked out the door and forgot it. Guess what? I got sit in that car. I got my crown on today. I need to walk in
I know
today with my
that.
crown on. But it's just to encourage and uplift and empower women to whatever God gives me, whether it's just from family and friends to relationships to friendships to just little things that I went through personally that God has walked me through that I can share.
Well, that's good. You had put something on Facebook that was real powerful. This post that you just recently put about um getting like about so you post about God, about people telling you where to seek God, and I'm paraphrasing, going
Oh
other
yeah,
place, and then you going to look in places that they told you not to look in. So
yes.
like, what was that about?
Yeah, so yeah, the quote is, I'm out here finding God in places that the church told me that, that he wasn't in or that he didn't, look in.
Right.
And, for me, that post is about, I saw it came across social media. I'm like, that's true. Because I am out here finding God in places where the church told me, not to look at or that he wasn't. I'm finding God, I lost over 60 pounds, and I find God at the gym and me working out and me taking care of myself. And, me getting up in the morning, I get up in the morning, I work out between like 5 and 5:15 a.m. and I love it, and it's
Wow.
it's for me. But I'm finding God in me because that's my time that I can listen to podcasts, and just being poured into me. But I'm taking care of my body internally, but I'm also taking care of my body externally. And so it's my time. I look at it as my time. It's non-negotiable. Look, I'm getting up and this is what I'm doing. Even when I don't feel like going, that's the best times
Right.
to go. But and eating healthy, I'm finding it in me going, well, not today because it's cold, but there's a park very close to my house. I'm finding God in me walking and just nature and just watching like the birds are flying, and because they have like this little reservoir thing there, and you see like the stream flowing and you can hear the water from the stream, and you know what I mean, and you see like the squirrels running around. And we got some, I don't know, we got some hood squirrels here where I live
The
at. Then you walk and they just look at you like, excuse me, but this is my park. Lady, you
right.
need to move. But they're just, and it just reminds me that he's taking such good if he's taking care of the squirrels, and scripture says he's taking care of the grass, and the birds and all these things. How much more is he going to take care of me? He takes care of, none of us can do, he has things for us to do, but he's taking care of them. Look, things are just moving and growing, and you know and we're so worried about all this stuff. They ain't worried about nothing. They flying around. The butterflies is flying. They getting, you know what I mean? The bees is, getting their honey, you know, so it just reminds me that, God is in everything. He is in
Yes.
everything. And so that, this for me, and even like listening to other teachers speak and other people say things like God is in everything. If you listen to what you're listening to has him in it, he's in it. He's in conversations with our children
Yes.
that we're having with our children, or conversations that we're having with people and clerks at this grocery stores and checkout lines and things like that. So just finding God in different books, even when what we were in, only read this book or read that book.
Hmm.
So it stopped me from really expanding and reading like I like to read. No, God is in that too. Just because it's a different frame of thought than what you may think does not
Right.
mean that God is not in it. God is in science. How
Yes,
in the world do we think that the scientists were able to create the things that they created? Because he was in it.
he was definitely in it.
Yeah. So it's just finding him in those places where the church was like, yeah, he ain't in that. You shouldn't be going here or doing that, or why are you doing that so much when you need to be here? No. No, he's in everything. You know what I mean? He's in all of that. And so we just out here finding him, and stuff, whether, tonight I have something to go to a banquet. I know he gonna be there. You know what I mean? And you never know, I might, be at a table with someone I'm able to have a good conversation with, that he is in the midst of that conversation. And then we say, you shouldn't go to that place or go here or there because they're playing this music or whatever. What? I'm going there because that's where I want to go.
I
But I
know
bet if
that.
because I'm there, God is there.
Yeah, pretty much.
And yeah, yeah. And so that's, what it was. And just to help people to understand that you can find God in any, in all, not all, well, not the enemy's
Right.
things, but, we
Right.
can find God in all these things. We just have to be
Hmm.
open to finding him, that he's there. He's there if you take that time and take those restrictions off,
Definitely.
where he's at. God is in, with me sewing, I see a lot of like clothing designers, and things like that. Like, and I'm like, wow, like, how did they think of that design? God, like that is fly. Like,
Yes.
how did they, and even, people who aren't trained, sewists, and they're coming up with designs and things. And I'm like, that was so creative. Like, I
Hmm.
love that. I'm getting that, because I love that. That was God, that he is in that, so that's what it's about, like just finding him in those things
Right.
and those different things where it's like, no, it's in the, yes, he's in his word. Yes, he's only in church and he's only in this and he's only, no, I'm out here finding God and all kind of stuff.
I know that's right. Nothing wrong with that. Because
Yes,
definitely in every arena, God is there. Like you're there, God is there. You can minister to people. I mean, just your presence. Just your
yes,
presence. You know what
yes,
I mean? You just never know. God didn't restrict you from going here and there. Go everywhere. Spread the word.
yes,
Spread my
yes,
love. Like
yes.
what? Not confined to one place. It's everywhere. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you got
Spread
to
your love.
preach
Spread the joy. Yeah.
right about
So
that.
well, as we wrap up, I just wanted to know, like, how do you hope your story frees or helps someone listening today?
These are help someone listening today to know that God is not done with them yet, that whatever they're going through, God has something more in store for them. And just to continue to move forward, even how hard it is. I've learned, I know that on those hardest days to move forward is those days where I really needed to move forward. That those are those days where it's like, and I look back the next day or a couple days, I'm like, I needed to move forward in that day. So I want them to know that, we can persevere and that it's okay to get help. It's okay to say that you're not okay. And it's okay to not be okay and to sit in that I'm not okay. But it's not okay to stay there. And that's where, to get help, that you can get help. But I want them to know that God, we've gone through things in our lives and it's just our story to tell that he's given us. And everyone has a story. Everyone has a story.
Everyone.
And for us to be open and to understand that, we have a story and everyone else has a story. And for us just not to judge others, as I was saying, a little earlier, just not to judge others on what they're going through because we don't know what they went through and what they're going through. But I wanted the women to know that they can do it. It may be hard some days, but they can do it. And that God is not, God does not desire for us to be in unhealthy situations. That's not his desire for us. And his desires for us to be healthy, loving situations and environments and places and things. God is love. And so when we look up in scripture and even the Merriam-Webster definition of what love is, that's how God loves us and giving out that love to others. But I want people to know that He's a healer, and every day is a new day, and you don't always have to have all the answers.
Definitely. So, if someone listening feels silenced or they feel unseen, what would you tell them about the power of telling your story, of telling their story, your story? Like, what is the power? If someone was listening, like, how would you, if someone was listening that feels silent, like, or unseen, what would you tell them about the power of their story?
That the power of their story lies within, that once they begin to tell their story, allow it to heal them first. And then once they allow that healing, it's going to heal others. That their story is also someone else's story. That they may think that it's only their story, but it's not. It's also someone else's story. And that them telling their story is helping them just as much as it's going to help someone else. And so they need to tell it. And and it's safe to tell their story. And they need to tell it when they're ready to tell it.
That's really, really good. You tell your story when you're ready to tell your story. That's very good. But before we close, I want you to tell everybody where they can find your books if they wanted to purchase them, as well as telling them your Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever handles you have, put them out there so our viewers can go and purchase your book so that they can be inspired, uplifted, and maybe delivered, maybe set free. Maybe their voice will be
Hey,
heard.
yes.
So, hey, whatever, you put your handles out there and let them know where they can find these books, and let them know where they can find you, if they, especially your you have your creativity, you have your earrings, you have your scarves, like wherever they want to purchase those things, that let us know.
All right, thank you. Well, you can find me on redeemedqueen.com. That is redeemedqueen.com. You can find me there, and that's where you can purchase my books. You can purchase my scarves, my head wraps, my clutches, and my earrings. Most of all my things are handmade. I make them handmade, and you can find them there. But you can also find my books on Amazon.com. Just put in my name at Queen of Washington, and both of my books will come up. And as far as my Instagram, you can find me at redeemed queen _, and you can find me on Facebook as the Redeemed Queen. So you can find me there, and you can also find me on TikTok as the Redeemed Queen, at Redeemed Queen. And so you can find me there on TikTok as well. But thank you so much, Val, for having me on. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share and enjoy my day with you. I had such a great time. It's always a blessing and a great opportunity, and I don't take it for granted when I can be able to just share a little bit about me with other people in the hopes that it will help them heal and help them just be whoever God has called them to be.
Yes, and I'm so excited to have you on. I'm glad you took your time out of your day to be on here and talk to the people, and let them know that they do have a voice and they are seen. And if you can be vulnerable and tell your story, that was their extra push to be vulnerable and tell their story. So I
Yes.
just thank you for coming in the room. And I'm just excited to see what comes next for you. And I'm glad that you're healing and that you are in your healing process. And I thank God that He will continue to use you. He will continue to push you. He will continue to let you know that you are important and that you matter. And I decree and declare that you will continue to stand 10 toes down on your business, and whatever God has for you is for you. Can't nobody take your place. Can't nobody push you out of the way, because what God has for you, you will have. You will have, and you will glow, and you will grow. And I see you glowing now. And I just decree and declare that you will
Amen.
continue to open your mouth and speak what God is telling you to speak. And don't be afraid about what you've been through and what you're going through. Because, like you said, we all have a story. It can be a good story or a bad story, but we all have one. And we're all trying to get to the finish line. And however we get there is however we get there. Whatever road God takes us on, that is the road that we go on.
Yes.
Whether it is a wavy road, a straight road, a crooked road, a horizontal road, a vertical road, whatever that road is, God will be with you. He will be with you. And never think that you're you're not able to do certain things that you see people are doing. God equipped you to do what you do best. And you are a woman in this community. You are a pillar in this community. And there's some things that God has placed in you that he wants you to speak about. He wants you to tell your story, not only your story that you went through in life, but in these legislating streets, these streets where the mayors, the governors. God wants you to tell your story because you're going to be right alongside of them. You are going to be right alongside of them. God is going to put you in your place.
Amen.
He's going to put you in your place. So you just continue to do what you're doing and continue to open your mouth because there's a lot in you that has not been seen or heard. So you have a blessed day. You enjoy the rest of your day. I enjoyed this time with you. I encourage you to continue to push forward. Sometimes, like your crown might be leaning to the side. Put that thing back on and say, listen, I'm able to do this. I'm able to do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So you go on and you take this world. You take on this world and you do what God has called only you to do. You don't got to let nobody size you up and tell you this is how you're supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to walk. This is how you're supposed to talk. Well, I know how to walk and I definitely know how to talk. So you go on and walk the walk and talk your talk.
Amen. Thank you.
You're welcome. Until next time, y'all, take care of yourself. I enjoyed you. I love you and take care.
Love you too.